motion of this telescope does not operate smoothly as it should, as will be demonstrated throughout this video. The first indicator that something is wrong occurs every time the telescope is operated as seen through the eyepiece. While observing any object such as Saturn in this animation, you will quickly note that the telescope will track the object for several seconds, after which the object skips to the right by a significant amount. The telescope will then track the object starting at the new position for an identical time interval, then skip ahead again. At this point, the object is 2 skips away from being centered in the eyepiece compared to when the observation began. This skipping will repeat until the object is completely out of the eyepiece. The telescope will not keep the object in the middle of the field of view unless it is repeatedly recentered with the controller. Recently, while observing Saturn, which was positioned at approximately 30 degrees in elevation, I tracked the amount of time it took for the planet to completely skip out of the field of view. It only took 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I originally observed this problem within the first several months of ownership. Speaking from memory, I recall that at that time it took longer for the object to bounce out of the field of view. Concerningly, this indicates that the problem is likely worsening. Okay, so here is the second indication, in addition to what is seen in the eyepiece, that there's a problem with the azimuth slew motor. And that is, you can physically hear the click in the housing when you slew the motor in either direction. So I'm going to put it on rate 2, and then I'm going to let you listen to the click as the motor turns. I'll move the camera a little closer so you can hear that. Okay, that's moving it to the left, move it to the right. Same thing. Now let's contrast that with the sound of the elevation motor on the same slew speed. You can't even hear it. It's actually running up and then down, but you can't even hear the motor operating because it's smooth. Again, you contrast that to this one, where you can clearly hear it clicking, and it's clicking in a repeated pattern. That is, it doesn't click and then a random amount of seconds, then click again. It's a steady interval in between each click, which tells you that it's related to the rotation of the motor. So now I'll move on to indication number 3. Okay, we've got the cover off of the azimuth motor and gearbox assembly, and we're gonna run the slew motor again. You'll hear the click, but I also want you to keep your eye on this piece right here. It has a couple of Allen bolts in it rather, and you will actually see the pop or the skip in the motor as it's running. Let me just choose a higher slew rate to get the nuts to come around. And even on number 5, listen to that. That's not smooth. You can hear it skipping and popping. But let's go to slew rate 2 and see if you can really see that pop. I don't know if the resolution of the video is going to allow for this, but I can clearly see the motor skipping. It should be a continuous smooth motion, and it's not. It rotates for not even half a second, and then it pops, and you can just hear that it doesn't sound right. And again, like I said, I don't know if the resolution of the video will allow you to see that, but I can clearly see by looking at this shaft and focusing my attention on these Allen set screws. I can see it pop. I can see it rotate, pop, rotate, pop, rotate, pop, rotate, pop. So now we're going to actually disassemble this gearbox as I did before to isolate the problem, because if I take the gears out of here and the motor doesn't pop, then that means that the pop is somehow caused by this part of the mechanism. But on the other hand, if I take these gears out and the motor has that pop in it, then it is the motor that's the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and take this cover off and then take another video, and this would be indicator number 4, I believe, that there's a problem with this unit. Okay, so I've taken the gears out of the gearbox, and if you move this, it's hard to see, but if you move this gear, everything feels alright. It feels smooth. I don't know if you can see the big gear moving as I move the worm and the shaft around, but you don't really feel anything by the way of unusual friction or an unusual feeling. It feels just how you would anticipate it to feel. So I do not think that anything from the motor through the gear through the clutch has anything to do with the problem that I'm seeing at the eyepiece and the other indicators that I have described so far. But now what I want to do is slew this motor around, and when I do, you'll actually, if the video resolution allows for it, you will see that the output gear and the output shaft of this motor that's where exactly where the click is coming from. It does one revolution, and then it does the weird skip thing, and then one revolution, skip, one revolution, skip. So again, we're on rate number 2. You can hear it, and actually when it skips, it's physically causing the motor to jump. Okay, let's go to slew rate 1. Again, every revolution it's popping. Let's try rate 3. Again, you can really see it jumping there. Every revolution it's popping. Rate 4. There's no question, absolutely no question, that there's a problem with this slew motor. You can see it popping. It shouldn't do that. I am positive that if I took the elevation assembly apart and showed you the slew motor running in the same manner that I am with this one, it would be smooth. So let's go to rate 5. Again, just all the way through every speed so far. It seems like when you get into the upper speeds, say 7, 8, and 9, then you finally get smooth motion. So slew speeds 1 through 6, it pops, and finally at speed 7 you get the smooth motion.